Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and I'm an attorney that assists veterinary associates with employment contract and independent contractor agreement issues. Today I'm going to talk about veterinary bonus and repayment clauses. So I'm not talking about productivity bonuses. If you perhaps have a collections-based contract or some kind of productivity model where you get maybe a bonus per quarter based on encounters or something like that. This is specifically about signing bonuses and relocation reimbursement, and then what could possibly trigger you having to pay it back to the employer. So when you are finding a new job, it's very common for there to be at least some kind of signing bonus. In addition to if you are moving from out of town, out of state, specifically for the job, they will generally pay for your move as well, up to a certain point. Let's take signing bonuses first. So let's say you're getting a $20,000 signing bonus to join a new practice. They will, provide you with the bonus at different times, and this is negotiable. You could get it upon signing the contract. You can get it upon, starting. The most standard kind of structure would be whatever your first pay period is after you begin providing care. That's when then you would get the signing bonus. But practices aren't just going to give you a bonus without some kind of, repayment obligation if you leave before a set period of time. So normally they would set the forgiveness at 1, 2, maybe 3 years. That's stretching it. I wouldn't want it that long. So let's just take 2 years for an example. And they would say, if you don't stay for 2 years, then you have to pay back the entire amount of the signing bonus. Ideally, as a veterinary associate, you would want to shorten the length of time where it's forgiven and then the interval that it's forgiven to. So if you have a 2-year forgiveness period, maybe reduce it to 1 year. And instead of an all or nothing, where it's like, even if you left in the 11th month, you still would have to pay the entire amount back, I would get that to monthly forgiveness. And therefore, in that scenario, if you were there 11 months out of the year, you'd only owe 1/12 back instead of the entire amount. So decreasing the amount of the forgiveness period, and then decreasing the interval in which it's forgiven are very helpful for a veterinary associate if you have to pay back the money. Nobody wants to have to pay back any amount of money. Next would be a relocation reimbursement. There's two ways of doing it. Either they can just give you a set amount of money and you can kind of do whatever you want with it, or they'll require actual receipts, which you would submit to the employer, and then they would reimburse you for whatever that amount is. Normally for moving, it's somewhere between $5,000 to $15,000. Very rarely will you see any kind of travel or relocation reimbursement above $15,000, and that's only normally for the larger organizations. For just a standard veterinary associate, you could probably expect somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000. And the same rules would apply to the moving expense reimbursement as the signing bonus. If they gave you $10,000 to move, they would say you have to stay for a year, or you'd have to pay the entire amount back. Now, it is more common for the forgiveness period to be shorter for a moving expense versus signing bonus. So maybe you have a 2-year forgiveness for the signing bonus, but then it's only a 1-year forgiveness for the moving expenses. That's usually because the moving expenses are less than what the signing bonus is. Some organizations will combine the two, and then they'll just give you a set amount, and you can kind of use that in whatever way you please. It doesn't really matter what they are, or at least what they call it. It's kind of all going to the same thing. You're going to use that money in any way you see fit, either via moving or assisting in finding a new place to live. Most places will allow travel reimbursement. So if you were to, let's say you're coming from well out of state, and you have to fly in and look for a new apartment or house, they would pay for your travel, or you could use whatever the amount was towards travel and rental car, lodging, that type of thing as well. One other thing, when they pay you the amount, it is taxed. So if you have a $10,000 signing bonus, you're only going to receive $6,000. However, when you have to pay back the amount of the signing bonus, they want the gross amount, meaning if they had a $10,000 signing bonus, but you only receive $6,000, they're going to expect you to pay back $10,000. So this is a shock for some veterinary associates. When they say, well, they only paid me this amount, or I only received this amount, why do I have to pay the entire amount back? So you could, for budgeting purposes, that's something to keep in mind. Now, you could get that money back in your next year's taxes, but you'd have to get with your accountant and deal with that. So anyway, that's a little bit about veterinary bonus and repayment. If you have any questions about a bonus, let me know, or any kind of issues with an employment agreement or independent contractor agreement. And I appreciate you watching the video. All right, thanks. Take care.